Fernando Mendoza goes number 1 as expected, and I have a co-host for the first time on the 10-Minute Report. I'm your host, Greg Mengel, and I love Central Indiana sports. Coming up today, Friday, April 24, 2026, Fernando Mendoza goes number 1 to the Raiders, and Omar Cooper is a Jet, and NBA and NHL Playoffs with today's co-host, Will Retherford. 10 minutes or so tailored specifically for Central Indiana sports fans. Quick programming note, we'll have a fever report with John Robertson and Michelle Garman first thing Sunday morning, and a Colts report, hopefully sometime Sunday, but Monday at the latest, where we'll react to the complete Colts draft. In the meantime, we'll be talking about what the Colts do today and tomorrow on the 10-Minute Report. I guess we're going to have multiple guests for that one because we're going to be talking Fever, NFL Draft, and NBA Playoffs. Thank you so much for joining us. Your 10-minute update begins now. Fernando Mendoza was the first IU player taken first overall since the Rams took Corby Davis first in 1938 in the NFL Draft Thursday night in Pittsburgh by the Raiders. Will, your thoughts on the marriage of Fernando Mendoza and the Raiders?
Well, I think he's probably the perfect quarterback to land in Las Vegas. I don't know if he'll get caught up in the pomp and circumstance that is
I hadn't thought about that.
The Strip. I like it. I'm not sure that he is awesome. I think he's somewhere between good and great. I don't know that he's like better than like Trevor Lawrence was probably as a prospect in terms of like that. I think he's probably a tier below that. But, I mean, he's a fine number 1 pick for a team that was very quarterback needy. So I hope it works out for him. I know that the state of Indiana just became huge Raiders fans because it's a cult-like following for him. He can basically do no wrong. When he throws 20 interceptions next year, he'll still be the second coming of Christ in Bloomington. So it's good for him. It's good for the Raiders. Hopefully he can make it work. The Raiders really have not been good at all in my lifetime that I remember. Obviously, the Tuck rule was I was 1 when that happened. So that's the last time that we're really relevant, other than a couple years that Derek Carr got him to the playoffs. I think the league is in a better spot when he's there. If there's a player that I think could potentially turn that franchise around, I think Mendoza's probably a perfect draft pick. They just have to do a good job of surrounding him with talent. Clint Kubiak needs to do a good job of making sure he gets the ball out on time. It's going to be a transition for the Raiders to have really a franchise quarterback for the first time in a while. I don't know. I have no ill will towards Mendoza. I don't think he's as good as people thought he was going to be. So I'm not going to be shocked if the Raiders really struggle this year. But I think in 4 years we'll look back and Mendoza is a good starting NFL quarterback.
The Jets took Texas Tech pass rusher David Bailey second. The Cardinals Notre Dame running back Jeremiah Love third. The Titans took Ohio State wide receiver Carnell Tate. 3 Buckeyes in the top 7, 4 in the top 11. The Rams moved up to take Alabama quarterback Ty Simpson, and the Jets traded down and eventually took IU and Lawrence North's Omar Cooper Jr. with the 30th pick overall. Will and I have a weekly podcast that will return next week called Greg versus Will versus the World, where we get points for our predictions and get extra points if we prove the other person and the world wrong. Here's kind of an idea of something we debate. Will, in 20 years, which player from Thursday's draft will have had the biggest impact?
I think Caleb Downs. I think he was the most NFL-ready player in the entire draft. The fact he fell to 11 was shocking. I think he's going to be an absolute star in Dallas.
Colts draft 15th and 46th tonight, Will. Jacob Rodriguez, the linebacker from Texas Tech, is who I really want for the Colts. Is there anybody you really like?
I think Rodriguez is probably my slam dunk for the Colts at 47. He, to me, seems like a place and play right now. I think his ceiling is probably a little lower, but his floor is really high, and this team needs a stout middle linebacker who can make plays.
He's probably not a prototype middle linebacker, but he is productive, and he is without doubt going to be an impact player in the NFL. Our IU guy, Grant Schaus, was at the IU spring game Thursday evening, and he will have a recap of that early next week on the IU Report with he and Mike Hutzel. Well, these NBA playoffs have been fantastic. Thursday's Hawks-Knicks game was probably the best one yet. CJ McCollum taking down the Knicks for the second straight game. Both 1-point wins by Atlanta. I tried to tell you, Will, that these Hawks were pretty darn good.
Yeah, I completely agree. I'm not shocked that they've been successful. The Knicks have been up and down the entire year, and right now they're struggling to fill the ball up. I do think it's probably going to come back that the Knicks are going to win this in 7, I think, but I'm not shocked at all that the Hawks have played well. I didn't see them being able to handle the physicality of the Knicks, but they've just been so game.
It's a great series. It's been really good basketball that whole series, and the Hawks are really fun to watch. The Raptors are back in their series against Cleveland. They won 126-104 behind 33 points apiece from R.J. Barrett and Scotty Barnes. Will, at some point, we're going to have to talk about that draft with R.J. Barrett because that is the most insane draft of all time. And the Timberwolves have the beat-up Nuggets on the ropes after a 113-96 Game 3 win.
I'm not shocked. We kind of debated a little bit. I thought that the Timberwolves, Nuggets, and Spurs were kind of like a love triangle of who's going to beat who to get where.
That's right.
The Timberwolves have just flat out had the Nuggets number the last 2 years. That's kind of why I thought going into this series we were going to see the Nuggets and Jokic kind of figure him out a little bit because I just thought he was too good of a player for the Wolves to really have teed up that well. But the supporting cast just hasn't played up to par, and I think Anthony Edwards is the perfect type of player for playoff basketball in terms of a guy that can go get you a bucket at any moment. The Wolves are dangerous.
Well, tonight, 7 o'clock, Celtics 76ers, 8 o'clock, Lakers, Rockets, 10:30, Spurs, Blazers, all on Prime Video. What are you looking for?
I'm really looking for the Spurs' ability to deal with Wembanyama not being at 100% because I think it completely hinges on his ability to play good basketball in terms of their ability to win a finals. And I think if he's not right, they're good, but they're not. He's such a special player. If he's not 100%, I just don't think they can win enough games, especially shootouts. His presence defensively around the bucket. If he's not at his capacity, I think they're really gettable.
In the Stanley Cup playoffs, Will, the Sabres went up 2-1 on the Bruins with a 3-1 win, and the Hurricanes beat Ottawa 2-1, and the Avalanche beat the Kings 4-2 to go up 3-0 in those series. 3 Game 3s tonight, all 3 series tied 1-1, Will. Tampa Bay, Montreal at 7. That series has been fantastic so far. What else has stood out to you in the playoffs?
Well, it's funny because you've not mentioned the one series that I think has been the most interesting, and that's Anaheim and Edmonton. I think the Ducks' ability to slow down McDavid has been honestly kind of baffling in a way. I didn't expect him to come in. He's only had 25 playoff games his entire career that he's not scored any points in. You know, I think it's cute right now what the Ducks are doing, but there's no way that you're going to keep the best player in the world down for that long. I just kind of think Edmonton's just waiting to heat up a little bit and get McDavid with a hot stick and get a couple power play goals, hopefully get Leon going as well. If they're able to do that, I don't think they have any concern in this series, but you know, it's really interesting when a team as young as Anaheim's been able to kind of keep McDavid at bay.
Cubs won again 8-7 over the Phillies on Thursday afternoon on Dansby Swanson's RBI single in the 10th. 9 in a row for the Cubs. The Reds and Cubs are now tied for first at 16-9 with Will's Cardinals just a game and a half back. Been a crazy start in the National League Central, hasn't it, Will?
Absolutely. I never really imagined that we were going to be in this type of situation where all 5 teams are really good. I think the Pirates are starting to come back down to earth a little bit. I'm not shocked with the Cubs, Greg. This is exactly what I expected them to be, a gritty team. The Phillies are struggling. The Cubs are just taking advantage of opportunities teams give them to win games. that's a trait that you love to see come October, which is where I think the Cubs are probably going to end up. So
they expect to win these games, don't they?
They do. They even when they're down, they expect to win these games. In the 10th inning, like they're there, they expect for somebody to step up and deliver. And it's not like Dansby Swanson has been some star in Chicago. He's been really average at best, probably below average for the money they're paying him. But they just have this mentality where they keep the line moving and they expect to go into the box to produce. I hate to say it. I think the Cubs are as good as I probably thought they were going to be.
The Reds host the Tigers for 3 starting at 6:40 tonight. The Cardinals host the struggling Mariners starting at 8:15. And will the Cubs now go out west for 3 against the Dodgers and 3 against the Padres?
Greg, I think this is the litmus test early in the year for the Cubs. Are they legit? Is this 9-game winning streak kind of a fluke? Did they get hot at the right time? Because the Dodgers and Padres are going to perform. I think we have just come to expect that at this point. And the Padres are doing it a different way. Tatis isn't playing great. Cronenworth's been abysmal. Ramon Laureano's been okay at best. Like the Padres are getting it done with great pitching. The Dodgers are obviously the best team in the entire league. I don't know. The Cardinals, every series, I'm saying, is this the one? Is this the one where we come back down to reality? But the Mariners' offense has really struggled. It's no coincidence that Brendan Donovan's been injured and they've not performed really well with him not in the lineup. He's definitely been a table setter at the leadoff spot when he's played against right-handed pitching. This Reds-Tigers series, it just feels like something. I don't know. I think the Tigers have underperformed a little bit, and I think they're trying to get back to where they're supposed to be, and this Reds team's been playing great.
In CIC Softball Thursday, the openers for all 8 CIC baseball and softball teams Thursday night. Eastbrook scored 5 times in the 8th to beat Blackford 7-2 in extra innings. Gracie Elliott drove in 3 of the Panthers' runs. Frankton handed Oak Hill its first loss of the season with an 11-0 victory. Ava Lee Stanley went 4 for 4 with a double, a home run. She scored 3 times and drove in 5 runs for the 5 and 4 Eagles. Allie Smith had 2 of Alexandria's 5 home runs and a 16-1 win over Madison Grant. And Jara Teagarden was 4 for 5 with a couple of home runs and drove in 4 in Mississinawa's 13-5 win over Elwood. Sandy Jordan hit her first home run of the year for the Panthers. In baseball, Eastbrook held off Blackford for a 3-2 win. Alexandria beat Madison Grant 7-3. Mississinawa topped Elwood 9-3, and Oak Hill blanked Frankton 3-0. Will Rowland went 2 for 4 with a double and 2 RBIs for 11-3 Alexandria. Kaylin Quaderer and Caden Riggs both drove in 3 runs for 4 and 5 Mississinawa. And Aiden Pierce and Ethan Null combined on the shutout for 8-1 Oak Hill. Will, thank you so much for joining us. Appreciate it. We'll be back tomorrow.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
Thank you so much to Will. Just to let you know, we are going through a bit of a transition here, starting to point toward our 3rd season and what we're going to do differently. So with IU and Purdue football and basketball over, the Pacers season done, no Colt season going on right now. We're just going to do podcasts as they come up. They're not going to have any particular days of the week. We'll probably do that until August, and then we'll have a daily schedule again. But you can listen to this show every day, weekday afternoons, weekend mornings, and eventually in June it'll go to first thing in the morning every day, the 10-minute report. Thanks so much for listening. Again, we'll be back tomorrow. The Central Indiana Sports Report is a product of ITG Media, and I love Susie.